Hello, I'm Christian. I want to present today my talk about test-driven development. I will introduce a bit my development experience so far, but yeah, first I will just start to talk a bit about what is my talk about, and to give you a very short, in a nutshell, explanation. It's about practice that you can use to develop. Okay, shortly overview. I want to give you the motivation why I should use test-driven development. So I have some common questions and want to talk about professional game development. Yeah, then I will talk a bit about myself. Then I would like to make something interactive. We will see how it goes when we're there. It's a bit up to you. So I hope you're prepared to give me some nice game ideas. Then I will like to give you a progress manual, talk a bit about version control in the same time, and in the end, of course, talk about my references. Okay, common questions. So, like I said, this is the motivation. So basically, I would like to say, what are common situations when you're even not just developing, but basically when you're doing anything related to computers. Okay, so you have a work day, you have your task or a bunch of tasks for you in front of you, and one question that I think is very common is, okay, where is this function? Another question is maybe, is there a better way to do this repetitive step? Okay. Or a third question is, when I'm following this tutorial, am I actually fast at my work, or am I actually slowing down because I should actually just, try my own way and not just following somebody else, even if it looks like this is very similar to what I actually want to solve. So these are I think common questions that you have. And like I said when you do anything computer, but I think you can even generalize it more. But to give you a question that I think is also very common is this what I'm actually doing professional? So am I actually doing something that is, state of the art? Or in other words, do I'm doing this do I'm basically progressing even just in what I'm doing? And we are game development group. So I will talk a bit about why game development for me is a profession. So for me, just when I talk about professions, I think this is a job where you're doing a complex task and where you have human interaction somehow. So it's not just you doing something and then it's done. Usually you need some kind of interaction with humans. You need to talk to people, and depending on this, you will change, or depending on this, your product will be different. And one additional thing I totally believe differentiate the profession from not the profession is that you have kind of responsibility what you are doing. So you have to think about it. So there is kind of a moral aspect to that. So I think game development is all of this. So just want to clarify, for me, game development is a profession. Okay, what is professionalism? I would say, okay, we have here on the picture feedback. I think one task that you have to be able to do when you're a professional, you have to be able to reflect and judge your own performance. Also from other people, you have to be able to do that. So I think this is one of the skills that you have to have. The second one is you have to be aware of the duration, how long you're doing something. For me, it's more you have experience, you remember, maybe you even write it down, but you have to be aware how long you need to finish something. I guess everybody who's a bit doing something in freelancing will be aware how important this is. And also the third thing, I feel that you can plan with deadlines. Also the same when you're freelancing. I think this is crucial to be able to do that. And we talked about this a little bit before. For me, also personal, when I think about how was my way in game development, when you have game jams. Okay, in game jams, it's so important that you're not the last minute fighter. You don't want to be there's the last hour and then you are oh my God, I have to do this. You don't want to be in this situation. It's a very uncomfortable place to be. So yeah, I've started to talk about myself already. So yeah, again, one more time, I'm Christian. I started actually studying game development in a small town in Germany called Mittweida. Actually, it was media informatics and interactive entertainment, but it was game design. So I did that. I did it for like 1.5 year, but then I just decided for me it's not the right thing how I can progress with what I want to do with games. So I decided to go to Galway and start to hunt gold farmer. So I was at the Elder Scrolls Online, ZeniMax Online Media, and yeah, was there a game master. I did this for half a year, and afterwards I just went to a small town in Poland called Wejherowo. And what I did there was I kind of was reflecting and try to do some prototyping and try to realize, okay, where's like my, how well I'm doing. So I'm talked about game jams, and that's why I'm actually heading to. I want to just say, when I did then my first game jam in 2015, I had like a big first idea of where I am. And when we talk about professional, I think that one of the things that I already said, this awareness of how long do you need for something is so important, because when you are able to understand how long you need to really have like your prototype ready, then you can get kind of the feeling, especially in games, where you are, where can you apply for, and what can you actually finish on time. So I did this game jam, and then I realized, oh, actually I need some more training. So I was studying a bit in Berlin, and actually I finished my bachelor in computer science, physics, and education. No specific game development in this particular studies, but I mean, I always can attach to this, and this is also what the talk is about. So I learned something there called test-driven development. But maybe two more words about me before I'm going to really show you this technique. When I was in Berlin, I did another game jam, and this game jam was already more planned, like just from how we worked. And yeah, afterwards I done some jobs in Hong Kong and did another game jam here, Global Game Jam this year, where we worked remotely, what was also for me a very different experience, and we had also more time. So I think this is something that always like followed me, this game jam idea. But also I want to say that this whole experience, and especially the last one, made me realize like one thing. And I think this will lead me to this professional idea. I think I'm want to be a game developer because this idea of, I have this idea of a game and I can really make this playable, is something that is just, for me personally, I just want to have that because I can sleep better. I mean, I just feel this makes me, this makes something inside of me happy. I don't know what it is, but it's just something I feel I want to have this skill. But when I think about this, I think this is also the reason why some game projects are not successful, because after this ideation comes learning. After this ideation comes also like reducing of the whole idea that you have, like these all aspects, we can't have them in the game. And also there come like some kind of disappointment. So I actually want to have this, but it takes so long. And I think what I want to say is you have like an emotional aspect when you're like doing game development. What I feel is also the reason why I'm doing this, but you have to be aware that you need to feed forward. So you need to be aware and reflect what is your progress all the time, to not fall into something that is, oh, I can't really do this. Okay, and now, like I said, I want to make something with your life. I'm not sure who is aware of this video, but I guess it's a famous face that you all have seen. Zbrekis is a game development YouTuber, mostly with Unity, and actually, you can say former, because he's not in the field anymore. But anyway, I have two things to say. The first thing is, usually when I'm having a game idea, it usually starts with, okay, it's a game like I'm not going to say, but a game like this. And I want to change it a little bit. And the third part of it is, and this is something I want to say to you, it's not going to take me forever. This is something when you want to take something out of the talk, like from me, like, what was the motivation aspect of this talk? This is what I want to give you now, okay? So it should not, you should not have in your mind, you will need for this forever. And I want to show this is possible. Yeah, and with this video, actually, I want to say when Brekkies can do a game in 10 minutes, he actually did this on this video. Feel free to watch this maybe later, but I just want to say when he can do a game in 10 minutes, sorry for this, we can plan a game in 5. This is my goal now, okay? We will do this now. Okay, I'm looking at my watch. It's 40 past, 35 past. And now I will switch to Discord. And what I want from you, give me a game. So we're doing this pattern, what I said. I say, we want to have a game like this, but we're going to change something. So first, I just want to say, give me any game, maybe like genre typical. So yeah, maybe say Mario instead of Shovel Knight. But you know what I mean? Just give me like any game in Discord chat now. Let's do this. Let's see, Johnson is writing something. Fruit Ninja, but it's watching me. Okay, yeah, I like this. I like this. I like this. Okay. I don't know Downwell. Sorry, not there. Age of Empire, but Virus. Sorry, I do like Age of Empire, but changing it a bit. But Virus, I don't get it. Maybe when you can, Jeremy, write it a bit like the virus thing out. We can do this. Like you controlling a virus. Oh, like what is this game? This Android game. It was really famous, but it was not like strategy. Okay. Okay, I will do. Sorry that I'm going to Monkey Island, but with Space Pirates, it's cooking game, but you're Gordon Ramsay show and trying to maintain mental health. Tekken, but with only old people as characters. Okay, I will take. Why not? I anyway want to do a point and click adventure at the same time. Okay, guys, it's over. I'm going to do this Monkey Island idea. Because I just picked it randomly and I think I can do it with this. Okay, so I'm really just trying right now to show you how I plan in games. And this is something what I feel is the first step what you're doing when you're doing a test room development. So we're doing right now this, what I had in my slide before. We're going to do feed up. Okay, so first a question what I have is Monkey Island. What is this kind of game? Okay, it's a point and click adventure. And then with, we call it LucasArts style. Please watch the talk from, I can't spell it, but the talk from Tom if you want to have a bit more about this styles. But yeah, LucasArts style game. And maybe when we can say a bit more about the art style, because this is, I think, also important for this particular thing. We have Space Pirates, I would say, with Space Pirates. And I think something that is worth to mention, because it's, I think, not 100% clear, it's almost clear, but not 100%, I would say, narrative heavy. Because when I think about LucasArts game, I think the narrative and maybe even the humor is like important. I will not go into in humor in detail because I guess you can do it differently. But I also want to say it's not like the riddles are like the big part. I think like you don't have just riddles, you also have a narrative. Okay. So this is what I have right now, okay? I just want to say, when I'm starting to do a game, I usually try to first find out, okay, what is this game like in general when I'm going to describe it. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to separate this into smaller parts. And I'm usually starting from a part where I'm going to be able to say, okay, this is something that I will do in the end. I'm not going to do this in the start of this game. So what I would say for here, the first part, what I would like to do in the end is I would like to say the narrative. I would do this in the end. So this is basically what I would like to keep in the end. So because when I have the mechanics, I would like to keep the narrative at the end and then just work on it. So basically, I think we saw this already, and also Tom's talk, that there are like great tools for this. Yeah, to mention more, please look at it. Also on this YouTube channel. Game development as a hobby. Okay, so next part, what I'm going to do when I have this game, I have here point and click adventure with LucasArts style with Space Pirates. Okay, now I have to think about, okay, what can I actually do? And I think for me, this part is so heavily combined that I can't even say, okay, I just want to do it at the end. But the Space Pirates, it's mostly something that I would do even at the beginning. So I would just draw this, but we know that the drawings will be necessary when we have a bit of our game here. So what I would do here, I would basically say, okay, I will do the Space Pirates at the beginning. So make the drawings for the Space Pirate first. And the point and click adventure with LucasArts style, I would really point out what this is here. Okay. And because, like I said, I'm doing the Space Pirates at the beginning, I would say, okay, this part here is already included at this point. So basically what I have here is I need to make the point and click adventure with LucasArts. I make the smaller step. And now it's coming your experience from gaming, but also the experience from developing. So what you need to have the point and click adventure with LucasArts style from your experience when you're developing. So I would say what we need is all these little parts of chat, all these little parts from items, and all these little parts from basically the logic. So I would also, like I did in the beginning, try to find out, okay, how can I here describe this game a little bit better? So basically a game with chat mechanics, items, then and I also would like to have, I will say logic. Short. I hope you understand what I mean with logic. It basically means that I have different parts of game elements, and I have some parts that are just able to enter when I'm going to be the particular point. So when I open this gate with this key, then I can enter the other room, and in the room will maybe just be a guy after I enter this who was before in another room, and then he's disappearing there. So this is kind of a general logic word. And this is actually what I want to see right now is I need to understand what of this part here is the complicated part. And I would say for this here, I need to understand, okay, I would, for me personally, first say I would do the item management. Then I would like to do the chat mechanics, and then I will do the logic. Okay. So basically what I'm going to say, I need to look at the time. Guys, we are a bit over time, but to be honest, we're already done. We just try to find a nice way to work here with the text. But like I said, I would like to have the logic at the end. So here I have these both. And when I look at chat mechanics and item management, I know more tutorials about item management. So other way around. Okay, guys. I mean, we are over 5 minutes, but we're less than 10 minutes. I think that's okay. And I just want to say, basically what I did just now, I calling this writing tests. And I'm doing this way because I want to show you that what I doing when I'm doing test driven development is something that I would say is analyzing. And when I'm talking about developing, I have an analyzing part and I have a checking part. So every action that you're doing, you're trying maybe figure out, okay, how is the game how I want it to have, or do I just try to figure out what my game is about? And I just tell you right now, test-driven development is about analyzing. So I right now found out what is my game about, And now that I have like this written out, I actually can start to program or to develop in general. Because let me give you the next slide. Test-driven development, and I hope you understand so far. I'm not sure if you was be aware, but let me tell you this. I haven't talked really about any kind of programming yet. I have talked a bit about game development, but if you can really see this, it's not about a technique where you are going to say, this is just for games or this is just for software. It's about the general technique, how you're approaching things. Okay, and I'm going to now through this whole graphic a little bit more into detail. And now I'm going to start a bit more about technical stuff. So I will mention version control and a lot of points because I think there's like a lot of advantages. But please understand that test-driven development is more about really a practice that helps you to develop anything, to help you to think about stuff. But like I said, let's go a bit more into this graphic, and I will talk a bit more about technical aspects now. So the first thing, what I want to see here is when we are going to have our game, so we're going to develop, is first we should consider to use version control because it will give us two advantages. The first advantage when we are going to use test-driven development and version control is that we are going to have something that we call specification by example. This means we can have our game documented without writing really documentation. So we don't need write any readmes. We don't need to write any kind of comments in our code when we are doing this technique, and we're using version control because it will get commented and basically like the specification will be written just by an example. So everything what is there is already, just because the way we are doing this. So this is great when we work in teams because other people can just come in. And this is also something that I really would like to introduce you when you're doing any kind of programming. Look at the tests first. Okay, second advantage of using this is what we are going to do when we have that. And also we have to talk a bit about automated tests later to really see the big advantage of this. But the big advantage basically is that we have a safety net. Okay, a safety net means that we can work quick and dirty. We can do trial and error, like Mario. So really just try it out. It works on that. Okay, no new try when we do this, because these techniques will really give us the confidence that nothing can break because everything is just safe. Okay, this is the big advantages so far. I told you I want to talk about automated tests, but I will not go today in this talk in details about this because there are so many different engines and every engine has like a own way to do this. I mean, programming languages by itself have all these different aspects, but yeah, different engines have different way of testing. That's why I'm not going to mention this in detail today. But I just want to say automated tests allow you basically to write a test, not how I did this here with the game, where I'm just going to write down and check it by myself, but the program is really checking this for you. Okay, all these game engines have that a way to do that. Okay, let me go to the steps, but before that, I will check no, nothing here. Okay, so first step, write the test. We did that already. And I hope for you that you see that already, that when we are doing this, so when I'm going to write my first test, so I'm going now here to the bottom, Space Pirates, this is the first test what I'm going to do. So I wrote this already, so I want to write the test. The second step, what I want to do is I want to check whether the test fails. In this particular thing, I just want to say is, do I have already space pirate assets? So do I have like some images of space pirate on my computer? Okay, this is just something I say. It sounds very simple and even a bit, silly, but when you go progress with test-driven development, you will understand that the idea is really to think a lot in the first steps, in the analyzing steps, and afterwards just do what is there, because the big advantages of this is that your program will just exist out of your working habits and not like, you have to not think about the program when you are going to really write the code, but you have the program already written before, and then you're just going to complete this. So yeah, first step, writing the test. Second step, check if it fails. Do we have the assets? Okay, when we don't have the asset, probably we don't. So the test fails. This is the green arrow now, because this is the normal step. That's why it's green in this particular case. We are at step number 3, write only enough code. And this is a big thing that I feel is like a mindset that you need to have for test-driven development. It really means you have to understand the simple solution, quick and dirty, trial and error is the best, because it will allow you to really not try to focus, and you see it on the bottom of this picture, focus on the design of the whole project. It will really give you the mindset of, okay, I want to finish the test. This helps you to be faster, this helps you to make good solutions, and for the most important part, that's what I'm talking all about, is to be on time. Okay, so step number 3. One experience that I had already is that I feel the third step is in particular the most difficult one, because what is not easy is to find out what is my test before I really write the code. I do experience this already. So it might happen that you want to write only enough code, but then you are going to have the idea of, oh, but this is not exactly what I wanted. Actually, I need to change. So in this particular thing, game with item management, say I have the assets already done, so I pass this, and I want to have the item management. And there is, oh, actually, I don't want to have item management. I would like to have, I don't have a good example here right now, but you need to change maybe this point. And this is something that is sometimes tricky, and it's going to happen. So just my experience is that the important part here is, before we are going to the right side, I hope that you understand that when you just see the test, to find out how long you need for just the first test, okay? You should find out how long you need to really make a space pirate asset. I don't want to say exactly how many hours, but I want to say 5 hours or 100 hours. You should be able to find this out just by seeing this right now. I don't want to say find the whole Monkey Island but with Space Pirate out, but you should be able to find out just the Space Pirate thing. And then the next steps should be also able to, you need to find an idea of this. So a game with item management, I'm not sure how many tutorials you have seen, but I see like already 1 tutorial, 3 tutorials. And when I think about this, I think about, okay, this would probably take me like, I don't know, 2 hours, 3 hours, following just by tutorials. Okay, step number 4. I want to just mention version control is exactly where we're going to switch now. So we're using now version control. After we wrote enough code and the test succeeded, now we're going to do our commit. Now we're saving our program. Now we are checking whether all the tests succeed. And now we are looking at the big picture. So I just want to say, when we are doing now our program, we always want to check that nothing from the stuff that we did before failed. So we should always have now a game with item management. We always want to have the game with the chat when we implement the logic. This should not like break. And this is something that we just check at the 4th step. So after we first know that this logic step worked, the logic mechanic is in, then we're going to check all the other steps. The focus is different. You see that already. Now we're going to design. And what we are doing here is improving the quality. Now we can really look at our code. Now we can really look at game develop and whole game that we are going to develop. And now we can think about all these aspects that it's not quick and dirty. And yeah, I mean, you see it from the arrows. The basic idea here is refactoring. What is the other word of like really improving the quality? Yeah, so looking for more efficiency, looking for less memory, even looking for, okay, better names. This is all refactoring. So that's what we're going to step number 4, and then step number 5, as you see, like with the line there. And this is basically what we are going to do over and over again. You see the iterate file. So we are doing this step until really our game is done all the time. Yeah, I mean, basically this is test-driven development. And I have to say, for my personal game development experience, it helped me a lot. And I just want to tell you, like, give it a shot, try it out. I mean, use it to plan your progress. These are the resources, and yeah, maybe you can check out my website to see what I'm doing besides of that. Thank you.
Thank you again, Christian, for your talk. It was very insightful. And if anybody have any questions, feel free to either ask them directly in the audio channel, or you can put them as a text form in the monthly gathering text channel.
I have a question with the, you very briefly talked about version control and a little bit of like just continuously iterating over your work before. Could you elaborate on that just a bit more?
Yeah, I mean, when I think about version control, especially in test-driven development, I have to say that I really use this version control, like in Git, very specific commits to really comment while I'm doing this test-driven development. So it's kind of helps me to, when I'm doing the steps, really say, okay, this particular commit is introducing this particular functionality, what I feel is the big advantage of a version control system. So like I said, like I'm a new team member now, I want to understand your code. I'm looking at your commits and I kind of can understand what is this commit introducing to your code. And then I feel like when you have like a test, what I said before with this game with item management, when I see you're writing in your commit game with item management or add game with item management, it's very clear what you're doing. And the thing is, when you're afterwards having a next commit, and this is refactoring, it's pretty clear that the first solution is going to introduce the functionality and the refactoring is introducing the quality of it. So the commit is really just, supporting this. I feel also this is something that a lot of people talk when they say about what I learned. People talk about when they say into tester development. It's kind of natural how the code is going to be created. So you are rather going to create the code because of the problems. And I feel like from really the perspective of I'm new in the team, looking just at the commits helps you a lot to just understand the code. And from the perspective of a developer, it kind of makes you, I'm not sure how much you see that, but I see that actually quite often, that you have this commits of final release and then you have another final release. And this is just impossible when you follow this line, because there is no test like, final release. There's the last commit introducing the narrative. And for me, this is a great thing.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Did you employ this test-driven system during Global Game Jam?
Good question. No, I mean, in this particular game jam, I haven't used this, and I haven't went through this because I just wanted to shortly go over my own game development experience. But I think for me personally, like when I think about this particular game jam, it was a bit different to my previous experiences because we are like asynchronous, and it was like 96 hours jam. So there was never like really this, even if we had like the sessions where we've been sitting down, programmed together, I never felt like in Berlin game jams, I have like 8-hour game jam. Okay. So I'm sitting down there and it's like so tight and it's very clear what this 8 hours work in this game. But this was never like really, this very goal oriented. We are now going to work on this game. So it was kind of, I feel, difficult for me to talk about, okay, let's keep it simple. Let's make it how we want to. We have been more always trying to, make our idea not just bigger, but also like just make it as nice as we want, and then improving it at good points. Like then we talked about different aspects, but I feel like this particular global game jam this year was for me a different experience from before, just because it was not so. I mean, from the mindset, really keep it simple. This was not. I can't say that this was what we did.
Hi, everybody. I have a question for Christian. Where can I see some of your work, like the games you were involved in? I would just like to check them and see your ideas for games.
I mean, when you are going to my GitHub, it's like GitHub/Chris Motion, so the same username that I have.
Yes.
It's a good thing to look up in also regarding this talk, is because I have like one example there where I like recently like really used this particular technique. And then I'm not sure if this is the best thing, because I feel also when I look at GitHubs, the README should be really like a README. So you really would like to have something nice that introduces the game and introduces the idea. But I will post this now in the chat here. When you look at this is how usually I work, because I writing like a clear README really when I like finish the project. I'm usually writing in the README this thing what I just described to you. So I'm usually having like this whole, this is the game and this is the big idea, and then it's made smaller. So you see that, and yeah, I mean, in general, my website. But here's like one example, like recently what I worked on. Camila, I will send you afterwards the Android build, so you can download Android. But yeah.
Sure, I'll check this. I'm really looking forward to this. Thank you.
No problem.
I'd like to jump in. I don't necessarily have a question, and I'm going to butcher the name of it right now. But a technique that I've been using a lot for project managing game design lately, which I think could really work well with how you looking at like this test-driven design and development iterations, is the pattern. I forget the name of it, but I'm just going to call it the pattern model for game design ideation, where every time you have a game concept or you're deciding on the game systems and mechanics, you literally have you describe the mechanic, you describe the argument for it, you describe the consequence of including it or not including it, and you describe how the end user will eventually interpret that mechanic. And I found it makes managing more complex games super easy, because you have very clear notes on, why we decided this needed to be something we should adopt, what would happen if we were to cut this feature. I think that would play really well in a positive way into that test-driven framework that you've kind of set up here.
Just because thank you very much. I would totally like to, when you have like a name, look it up. Just
I'll
from this,
drop it in the chat when I find the name again.
But just because you're talking about patterns, and I recently heard that, I'm trying to figure out if this is something that I believe in, is, when I got introduced to patterns, people like, or the professor that I heard, he was talking about, when there's like one big idea in software development, like during the last, 50 years or 20 years, not sure how much, but he said, then this is software patterns. And I was looking at this and I was like, okay, interesting. And I was trying to learn them, kind of hard because they're like very abstract. But then recently I heard that there was a guy, he was saying, when you're really doing development, you should not try to say, okay, I'm developing with this pattern. And I'm not sure if the thing that you just described, is it a pattern in sense of software development pattern, is like more like a really, what I mean, like how like test-driven development is like a more like something that guides you through the way what you should think first.
It is more of a guide.
Okay.
I'll bring up the document again. It's somewhere sitting on my computer, but
okay.
Basically, it's just a way for organizing your thoughts on the overall systems.
Okay.
That you wanna
Okay.
Yeah.
Good then. Thank you.
Earlier, you said that specifically when you break down the mechanics of the game and what needs to be implemented, and you say, especially for tools or mechanics that you don't know how to implement yet, it's easy for you to search up tutorials for them. In the case that the tutorials or the implementation or the learning of it takes longer than expected, what is the choice swap there? Is it the similar idea where you restructure yourself to break it down again and reassess how would you go about implementing this, or would there be another way, specifically following a test-driven development format?
Think about this. I try to find an example from my experience, but for me, like when I just have to say, the first thing that comes in my mind is, it's difficult. I mean, this question when you're developing and you're trying to figure out, I'm not sure how, this idea of, I had this Stack Overflow thing, and when I can put this into my code, it's like perfect. But I think this question of this is really happening I have to give it. This is like something that's like just everyday programmers work, just really normal. But from my experience, I mean, usually when I'm trying to find out, is this something that I really can use or can't use, I usually try to set up for me personally like a time frame. So, you know, like I have to be aware of how much time can I really, and you call this in test-driven development spike. So when you look up the presentation, like in last book, it's I feel very good described, and I'm trying to really set up projects just for this. So when I have like a new project and I try to just go for like the one tutorial, I read doing a spike. So I'm just telling me I'm going to try out all what is possible with this in a short time, quick and dirty, and afterwards I'm going to leave it, forget it, and never go use it again. You really have to be in this mindset. So I'm trying to do this, but to be just aware how much time you can offer in this. Yeah, I mean, it's something that you, when you want to achieve this, like as a professional, I think that's something that you should be able to do. That when you're not sure with this particular tutorial or this particular framework or this particular, you know, asset pack, that you should be able to figure out if this is going to help you to really speed up or really like to make a bypass when you're trying to, you know, make spike. You can be able to do this.